I didn't understand why things were happening to me the way that they were. As someone who is not raised in a home where you're taught to be a critical thinker, you're taught to connect dots, divine dots, you always have that grandparent, like, this is the work of God, and they're trying to connect what is happening to the divine, trying to help you make connections. And we take that with us as we move on in our lives. But if you don't grow up in a home where your parents or grandparents have taught you how to make connections to the divine, then you're all over the place with trying to understand life and understand what is happening to you. You're all over the place. You have no clue how to start making connections. All right? Sometimes the things that happen to us in our life are, and I'm talking about misfortunes, unfortunate things, right? Things that we don't like, things that make us uncomfortable. Sometimes those things happen to us because, number one, something that we have done to ourselves. What we have done to ourselves. And when you're a victimizer, you never take responsibility for what you've done. You never take responsibility for what you've done. It's always somebody else's fault. If this person didn't do that, then I wouldn't be here. Well, if God would have just opened this door for me, I wouldn't be sitting in this situation. We always find a way to put blame on everyone other than ourselves. That's what victimizing is. It's always somebody else's fault. But sometimes when we look at the things that have happened, look at all of the negative things and all of the things that have brought you much discomfort in your life right now. How much of those things can you honestly take full responsibility for? Think about all of the things that have put you in a very uncomfortable place in your life, emotionally, physically, financially. Think about that. And then I want you to have an honest conversation with yourself. How much of that can you honestly take full responsibility for? Some of it is from what God decreed long before you were born into existence was going to happen to you. As the qadr, the actions of the qadr are three types. There are the actions within us, the actions upon us, and the actions from us. Actions upon you are things that were decreed by Allah upon you that you have no control over. You have no control over who your parents are. You have no control over what type of environment you're born into. You have no control over who your siblings are. You have no control over any of that. These are actions upon you. You have no control over those things. The actions that are within you, things that happen, that go on inside you, how your heart responds to this or to that, your emotions, these are things that you don't have control over either. You don't have control over that. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in a dua, Allahumma hadha qasmi fima amlak, fala tulumani fima la amlak wa tamlik. He said, oh Allah, this is my distribution amongst my wives in the things that I have control over. Meaning my wealth, my time, these are things that I control. So I distribute my time equally between my wives. I distribute my wealth equally between my wives. These are things that I have control over. He said, فَلَا تُلُمَّنِي فِي مَا لَا أَمْلِكْ وَتَمْلِكْ. He said, so don't hold me accountable for the thing that I have no control over, but you have full control over. And that was what? His heart, who he loved the most. You have no control over that. You have no control. A man has no control over, he has multiple wives. Wallahi, he has no control over which wife his heart inclines towards the most. He has no control over it. We have no control over it. So actions upon us, things that were decreed to happen to us that we have no control over. Actions within us, things that go on inside of us internally that we have no control over. And actions from us, meaning the things that we do. These are the things that we will be held accountable for. These are the things that we will be held accountable for. The things that we have done to ourselves. So sometimes the things that happen to us in life are as a result of what we have done to ourselves. Sometimes we sin, we disobey Allah, and we step outside of the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sanctuary. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna himallahi maharimahu," that the sanctuary of Allah is the things that Allah has made forbidden. Don't step into that arena. But sometimes we step in. And when the repercussions come back to us, the consequences of our actions come back to us, we look for someone else to take the blame for that. Well, why did Allah do this to me? And why is Allah allowing this to happen to me? I don't understand. Wallahi, I remember a young sister reached out to me on Instagram. I don't know who she was. And she said she was in the hospital having some type of medical condition, cancer or something like that. And she reached out to me on Instagram and she said to me, she said she, for a long time, she's trying to process, why is God doing this to her? She's Muslim. She doesn't know why Allah is doing this to her. She said, I've been a pretty obedient Muslim all of my life. Born and raised Muslim. I've never deviated from Islam. I've been a pretty good Muslim my entire life. I don't understand why God is doing this to me. And I said, Allah is doing this to you? She said, yes. He sent down the diseases, and now I'm afflicted with cancer, and I'm hooked up to all of these things in the hospital, and I'm really wavering in my belief in God. So, and I literally had to end the conversation with her because she was just so hell-bent on, my issue is, why does your mind immediately go to blaming God? Why is it his fault? That's my question. That was my question. Why does your mind immediately go to, why is God doing this to me? First of all, how do you even know that it's not a blessing in disguise? And for you, it's not really a blessing because it's exposing